Hi, everybody. Welcome back to another live session. Doing a quick mic check. Obviously, always want to make sure people can see and hear me okay. So, as you're coming into this live stream, um, don't hesitate to say hello. Let me know where you're visiting from, and always those warm and fuzzies. You can see and hear me. That's always nice. No matter how many times you do these live sessions, you just want them to go as smoothly as possible. So, again, where you're visiting from, say hello. We'll kind of warm into this session a little bit. So, let's go backwards as we always do. We always go backwards. So, yesterday's video, it's a pretty common behavioral question to have somebody ask you about, like it's kind of leadership without authority, or like leadership is out. And so I did a video yesterday on how to answer a behavioral question when your manager, boss, leadership is out, um, and you have to deal with it. And it's a pretty common behavioral question. I would say it's going to show up in maybe, I don't know, 10-20% of interviews. So it's common enough that I would love for you to check out that video yesterday if you haven't had a chance. In all the Q&A videos, basically I take on a persona, whether it's a software engineer, a product manager, a program manager, or recruiter, and I try to answer it through that lens. But always, as we think about behavioral answers, it's really critical. I have 8 actions that I really love to go through, and kind of the first bucket of actions is thinking through, well, what was the initial data I looked at? What were those initial conversations? And then how did I plan? Then the next step is kind of going into the testing and execution phase. And then the last 3 steps are really kind of launching, if applicable. Then we're going to kind of roll it up to leadership, and we're going to document. If you can always focus in on concentrating on those 8 actions, your behavioral answers will be way, way better. They're standard. They come up every single time. And yeah, like testing is a little bit of a funky thing. We think about testing from a software engineering perspective, but a lot of times we're just testing a strategy, testing a process, even testing how we can make a relationship better. So when you're thinking about actions, just think about those 8 steps. If you just hopped on, obviously you can always rewatch this and go through that. But if you haven't had a chance to check out yesterday's video, definitely do it. So again, as you're coming into the session, warming into the session, where you're visiting from, any hellos, any highs, any comments, any questions, any thoughts, everything is on the table today. And then, as always, in our downtime, we're going to talk a little bit about what's going on in recruiting right now, and obviously some of the major challenges we're seeing. And it seems like it's coming up more and more, and maybe it's just I feel it more, I see it more, but I just feel like it's just happening more and more. And so it's something we want to talk about. All right, I'm going to do a quick prompt on my services, and then we're going to dive right in. If this is your first time here, my name is Jeff H. Sipe. My business is practiceinterviews.com. I do one-on-one interview coaching, one-on-one negotiation coaching, and one-on-one strategy sessions. That's mostly resume and LinkedIn, but it can be a lot of networking. As you'll see today, if you use the coupon code GHOST, because we're going to be talking about ghosting and recruiters, it's 25% off of our course today. I updated all the modules back in October to include AI, so it's very, very up to date. And trust me, if you play all out in that course, you'll crush it. Lastly, our AI tool. As you're coming into our AI tool, remember there's a free week trial, so no pressure to buy. We're going to have people start signing up for our beta, which is our interview app academy. Not nearly as robust as our course, but we're going to build in a little academy into our app so that as you're going through the questions, you're going to start to feel more confident that you know the steps, and we can actually put you into that rigid path where you're actually finishing modules, or you can just dive right in. So sign up for that beta. That beta is going to be out. I'm really hoping March 31st, if I can get my act together. It's always the toughest part as an entrepreneur. If you like what I'm doing today, smash that like button. If you've never subscribed, consider subscribing. I go live 9 a.m. Pacific time every Tuesday, new original long form content every Monday, and I got to up my shorts game. I say that every week, but it's I got to turn the corner at some point. So thank you so much for being here. 5 minutes in, let's dive in. And remember, anything and everything's on the table today. Hey, thanks for visiting from Dublin. Thanks for being back, coming back. Hey, Jeff, a fellow recruiter from India. Amazing. Thanks for being here. Hey, Patrick. Hey, Jeff. Good morning. Staying at my friend's place in Sunnyvale. Such a rainy week here, and I thought it would be warmer. Yes, we do get rain in California, but it usually we're like 2 weeks away, basically, from it stopping, and never seeing rain until fall. Which again, we need more rain, but um, enjoy all the outdoor activities in the Bay Area. There's just endless stuff to do there. And if you can get to the Santa Cruz Mountains or get even down to Santa Cruz to do some good hikes, if you can get outside and it's not raining, it'd be great. Hope you're doing well. I wanted to update you regarding my final GCA interview with my hiring manager last Wednesday. You had some technical issues joining the meeting, but that was later resolved after several attempts. During the interview, when I was asked the GCA question, after answering the question, the hiring manager thanked me for walking him through my response. Okay. We're going to skip ahead and I'll come back to these other questions. I was wondering if that was considered positive feedback. After the interview, I thanked him for his time and he replied that he should be the one thanking me. Okay. He also mentioned that my recruiter would follow up with next steps. Should that be something positive? It's been 5 days. When do I expect to hear from them? Sounds very positive. Again, sometimes they'll give you buying signs and it won't necessarily translate to an offer, but usually when they say nice things like that, it's a very, very good sign. It's been 5 days. So totally okay. We're looking at Dublin time. So it's, kind of end of day today. So maybe you want to reach out to your recruiter now or tomorrow morning just to do a quick check-in. And those check-ins are always gracious and kind, right? This is part of how we want to control the recruiting relationship. So we control the recruiting relationship by being always very gracious and kind. Why? People like to work with people who are gracious and kind, so they'll get back to the people who are nicer. So, hey, hope you're doing fantastic. Just checking in on the status. Hope you're well, and that's it. But I would do that even now or tomorrow morning. And good luck and keep us posted. Okay, we're going to go backwards here. Okay, so I was selected for an offer, L4 recruiter role at Google Cloud, but my recruiter informed me that the headcount is on hold. Based on your experience, how likely is this to reopen? Would love your insights on how to navigate this. It's more common than you think. A lot of times, they'll be in the process. Business needs will change. And this obviously isn't just Google or recruiter roles. This could be any role at any company, but this does happen at Google quite a bit and just big companies quite a bit where they're going to come in and they're basically going to say, hey, like it's on hold. And for the future state, we don't know. But it's a relatively high likelihood for that kind of role that it will pop up. And hey, if you passed all your interviews and they really liked you, then that's a huge advantage when they do reopen a role. And here's the thing about recruiter roles. One, for right now, while we still have human recruiters, I don't think that's forever, but maybe the next 2 or 3 years, the turnover is always going to be high in these roles. It's a very high turnover role. So they're going to lose people. And then they'll just have demand spikes throughout the year in Google Cloud. So I'd say it's a very, very high likelihood that this job reopens. So the number one strategy you want to take on is you have to ask your recruiter about a comfortable cadence. And so a comfortable cadence, and again, part of this is how we manage our recruiters is you say to your recruiter, my fake recruiter is Jane usually. So we say to Jane, hey, Jane, I really want to stay on top of this because I'm excited about the Google Cloud opportunity. Is it okay if sorry, my mic came undone. Let me just take a quick step back. So with your recruiter, you say, hey, can I check in like with you once a month? I just want to stay on top of it. It's for like my own good. Is that okay? Because once a month isn't overwhelming for them. And then we're just kind of getting their approval to do that check-in. What will happen is it will keep you more top of mind for them. You may not be the only one who got put in this hold scenario, but if you're the one who's the most proactive, that's going to benefit you. But just kind of try to get that approval up front. It's kind of asking. Now, see what they say. If they don't respond, just check in once a month. I'm sorry to hear this happened, but the reality is that there is a high likelihood that you will have another opportunity. Again, it is role dependent, but we just look at the recruiter role as being a high turnover role, right? And just the demand in Google Cloud, like coupling those two items, there's probably a pretty good likelihood that this role will reopen. Okay. So again, just try and stay in touch with your recruiter as best you can. Hey Jeff, Toronto. Okay, we got some fun spots today. Applied for a research and insights role and waiting for my recruiter round tomorrow after clearing my GHA last week. Thank you for this session. Absolutely, and it's nice because remember, like passing that initial Google hiring assessment does not guarantee that you'll ever hear back from anybody. So the fact that you have heard back from somebody is great. Research and insights roles are really fun, and just dive into the prep. That's going to be the biggest thing. Hey, Patrick, super helpful with the short videos on onboarding released last week. Gonna meet up with the team later on and let you know how it goes next week. Thanks again. And yeah, Patrick, and just remember, like, they are going to like you so much more today if you default to really trying to learn more about them. Lean into them. Oh, what do you love? Oh, tell me a little bit more about that. Engaged, active listening. Instantly people like you more. It's just we live in a world where people wait to talk, they interrupt frequently, and they can't just be zen in the moment. And it's actually if when practiced, active listening can be a very, very easy skill to learn. And if you are now, and anybody who's on this live stream right now, were to reflect on the people you like the most, strong likelihood that the people you like the most are very good listeners, ask thoughtful questions, and really care to hear the answers of those questions. Okay. So, but obviously you inspired that video. So thank you. It was definitely kind of time, and onboarding's tricky. So much of this, and we can get into this for a second, so much of the psychology of onboarding and even in interviews is when somebody likes you right away, they're going to give you more leeway if you mess up. They don't like you right away, they're going to use that as a reason to validate why they don't like you. It's just basic cognitive psychology. And so we just always want to start with those warm and fuzzies, and they'll like us a lot more. Good luck today. Enjoy it. Okay, what are your thoughts? Okay, as an organization, do you think it's a good idea to join them as a principal recruiter or wait for the L4 recruiter role? Good company, right? And no, never, ever wait on Google, ever. Like, just don't wait on them, because I've seen the negative impact of that, and it's not to go to a negative place. It's just to understand that waiting on Google. Look, if Google comes back in 3 months, quit that job and go work for Google if you can make more money. We're not going to be loyal to companies anymore. They're not loyal to us. And by the way, we shouldn't be loyal to companies, even dating back however long we want to go back. But the reality is that these companies have shown that they will not be loyal to us. Let's not be loyal to them. I know that's tough, but they're going to cut you if they want to increase their bottom line. So just do what's best for you, which can include taking that job and then transferring to Google if that opportunity comes up. I couldn't pronounce it. Atlassian. Yeah, I was like, what? How come I can't pronounce that company? But that's a good company. So if you want, take a job there. Let me know if you have more questions. Hey, Lucas. Hey, Jeff. We talked a couple weeks ago. L3 UX salary negotiation, and wanted to report back how it went. Fast forward, signed today. Okay. Block the first salary expectation. They came back with a number first. I kindly blocked everything, asked if there's flexibility in the numbers. She said a little. Okay. Got the current numbers in writing and followed up with a high anchor. She went to the comp team and they didn't move the numbers at all. Followed up with another counter offer and said, I will sign on the spot. Still no raise in the numbers. Then I talked with her on meets and I kindly asked her Why the gap of a little flexibility and no raise in the numbers? Okay, this is interesting. She said it's her fault and she already gave me everything. Asked again if we can push somewhere or if that's best and final. She said she tried and that's it. I'm proud that I pushed quite a lot. Just wonder how you see this situation or if you would have done anything differently. Thanks for all the support. So helpful. Well, first things first. Great job, Lucas, because here's what you've determined. You can walk in the door knowing that you have maxed out your comp. So there's it's a small percent, okay? And let me just go back to this earlier comment. So it's a small percent, but some recruiters will try and get it all right up front. They'll actually negotiate on your behalf for the best offer right away. Is that a good strategy? No, it's a terrible strategy by a recruiter. It's a waste of their time. They should really push to get your expectations first. If they lead, they should lead with their low ball offer. Like this is just kind of recruiting 101. But probably in your case, she got all the money, she presented the offer, then she thought maybe there was a little bit more room and there just wasn't. Okay, so you did everything you needed to do. So much of the negotiation process, especially with big tech companies, is continuing to go back until they're like, you need to stop. It's absolutely a no, because then you can feel really comfortable that you haven't left money on the table. And that's a really, really big deal. And so let me bring up a good case study like Meta, for example. Meta is incredibly challenging to negotiate with because they really don't move the numbers unless you bring in data. Well, I have found that with Meta, you just wear them down. You just keep asking for more, say it's what I'm finding online. They say that's not data. You say I don't care, and you push and you push and you push, and eventually they'll give you more. And so, again, just the strategy is stick in there, keep asking, and also know that this strategy with a startup or a very small company could lead to a rescinded offer. So you definitely want to always understand if it's not publicly stated how the company negotiates, ask. What's your negotiation philosophy? Because we don't want to get into a position where we're getting an offer rescinded because you're taking my aggressive strategy, which works with big tech, but may not work with a smaller company. But you did everything you could have in this scenario. You controlled it the way you wanted to control it. I think you've maxed out your offer, even if it's not exactly where you want to be. Remember, comp over time is pretty good. Good luck. Hey, Jeff, how you doing? Doing okay today? How you doing? Please, how long it takes Google to give you a response if you made it to the interview process? Okay. And do you have any thoughts on TikTok, like the hiring process? So nobody with Google can really give you an appropriate timeline on the hiring process or how long it takes to respond to you because they have not been rigid with holding recruiters accountable. And that's why it's a total mess, right? Like you would have never gotten away with this when I worked there because the surveys were so strict. And if you got any ding on responsiveness, it was really going to hurt your rating as a recruiter. I don't know if they're not doing that anymore, or like what's going on, or they're clearly not taking it seriously because the responsiveness is really bad. And it's simple organization. And that's what makes it frustrating for me because I've been on that side. But the rule of thumb is if you do interview and you haven't heard back in 5 business days, check in always. Okay. And then, ByteDance, the bigger umbrella organization for TikTok, good company. They're like most companies, they tend to lean behavioral. You will get some hypothetical questions. Remember, most companies, they don't even really their philosophy isn't problem solving, challenging questions, but almost every company is going to ask you a how question, right? How would you do X? And so again, we want to always lean into problem solving for the role, but TikTok's a good company. So let me know if you have more questions. Hey, Patrick, my first reaction on seeing your onboarding video was I inspired him to post this video. Absolutely. Glad to help with that inspiration from all my questions. I'm so flattered. Yeah, and I think so much of my journey in the interview space is I haven't wanted to talk about onboarding because onboarding kind of moves past job search into that next step. But at the same time, I'm just starting to realize, like, who cares? Right? I've been on YouTube for 6.5 years. Like, let's talk about anything related to the job space, and I'm happy to produce more content on onboarding. But I just think about my personal journey and how I onboarded well at some companies and not as well at other companies, and like the overall impact that had over time. But pretty much every company I started at, I really like came in as a baller. I outworked everybody. I did a great job to begin. And so for me to break down that reputation, which I always did because I'm definitely somebody who pushes the needle. But I was able to come in and establish and have people feeling good about me right away. So onboarding is really important. And it's a question that has come up throughout my YouTube journey. So happy to do content and happy to do more content in that space. With AI rapidly evolving, I'm thinking about how recruiters can stay relevant. I'll be completing a decade in recruiting soon, and I want to future-proof my career. Okay, let's go to the second one. Beyond AI tools, what are key skills you would recommend I focus on to stay ahead in the TA space? Are there any specific trends or capabilities that you're seeing becoming critical in the next few years? So I think personally, and again, I know people would argue with this, but I don't think the recruiter role exists in 3 years. I just don't see any reason why it would. I can literally automate the entire recruiting process today with fantastic tools that are out there. Everything from getting the recruiter into the process. I actually don't even need human interviewers anymore. I can do everything through AI, and time to hire can be sped up to 1 day. So I just don't think that there is a future state for recruiters. So it's like, how do we insulate us from getting replaced by AI? I don't think recruiting is one where we're like learning AI tools and all of a sudden becoming better than our counterparts. What I want you to think about more is, how do you do your role from like a more project or program management perspective? Like, how do you put together systems, processes? How do you do analysis? Because even like analytical roles where AI is really good at analysis, like it still needs that human interaction. And of course, program and project management, just all the moving pieces and people, those will also be around for a while. The number one skill that I'll talk about forever is communication will set us apart. So whatever you can do to work on and improve your communication skills, that's going to be great. But just implementing AI tools, yeah, I don't think it's going to be that valuable for recruiting. I really think that role is ripe to disappear pretty quickly. And we're going to see what's going to happen is these roles are going to disappear quickly. It's not going to be like this slow churn or slow burn and like it just a chunk here, a chunk there. There's going to be a major update, and one organization's going to be like, no, we're done with them. And they're going to prove the use case. And then a lot of organizations will follow quickly to save money. So anything you can do to up your game in the communication space and start to look at adjacent roles to recruiting, roles that require strong communication skills but are not recruiting talent. And that could even be moving into something that's more sales based as well. Hi, Jeff. Hope you're well. Hope you're well as well. Joined last week and you gave me candidate support email address. I mailed them last week and haven't heard anything from support or HR. Whoa, that is strange. I don't know that I've ever heard anybody not hear back. By the way, if you're not hearing back from your Google recruiter, this is an offshore team, Google-candidate-support@google.com. Try again. I mean, I would definitely say email them again, say, okay, so I haven't heard back from my recruiter. I haven't heard back from you. You may need to start going around and trying to find email addresses of your interviewers. I mean, this is terrible. I'm really sorry to hear that this is happening. Like, I just have not heard of people not hearing back after using this. So keep us posted. I'm sorry to hear that. Realistically, in the current job market in the US, is such an extremely aggressive strategy for negotiation still recommended? I think more caution is needed. No, I don't agree with that statement. And again, of course, like I want to respect all opinions in here, but here's a big reason why. Obviously, everybody here knows like my big three are Google, Amazon, and Meta. Those are the three companies I coach for way more than any other company. Of course, I get a lot of Microsoft, a little bit of Apple, and then TikTok and Uber and all the other ones. But for internal equity reasons, Sue, Jane, and Bob are all earning a total comp of around 200K. I can't just all of a sudden pay you 100K, right? And so, like, you need to be aggressive to make sure that you're getting comped at the same level as those people. Again, understand the background on the company, understand what their negotiation philosophy is. And if you don't know, ask, what's your negotiation philosophy? And like, what can I negotiate on? It's I haven't seen over time, like all of a sudden compensation dropping a ton. There are some companies that I don't think compensate as well as they used to. Meta is one, Amazon is another. But I would say, like, if we were to take a snapshot at Google over the last 10 years, all of those total compensation packages have increased over time and continue to increase. Got to keep up with inflation, costs. And so, I wouldn't be that cautious, but again, know the company you're negotiating with. That's going to be the most important item. Thanks for your perspective and lens, because yeah, I think a lot of people are concerned and want to be cautious, but I still say get after it. Okay, this is the second part. My recruiter said that since I've been in team match phase for 4 months, he has to close my application. What should I do now? What are my options? Oh, okay, sorry. Um, so your options are kind of going back to what I mentioned earlier, which is, okay, I get it. I understand. Um, what are the best next steps for me? Is it okay if I touch base with you once a month? Can I touch base with you once a month? Is it okay if I share one position per month that I think maybe is a match and share my skills and my availability? Just see if you can build that rapport with them that they're going to keep supporting you. A lot of times they won't, but you got to ask. And then if they don't really respond or give you anything, I would say check in with them once a month. Whenever we share a position with a recruiter, share one. It's much easier for them to deal with one than 5 or 10. I used to have candidates send me 20 positions, and it was like, I wouldn't do it because it was just way too much work. And so send them one, send them the link to the role. In addition to the link to the role, you're going to want to share 3 to 5 bullets for why you're a fit. Then you're literally in the email you're sending going to say, hey, here's my best email, here's the best phone number, and then you're going to share your availability and then an updated resume that aligns with that role. And I would do that once a month. Even if they're not responding, you just want to stay top of mind for them as much as possible. Sorry to hear this. This is not that uncommon, but the best way is to utilize and push your point of contact to stay in touch. You're welcome. It would be great to see more content related to onboarding and how we can build strong and solid reputation at work, but not sure whether it kind of derails from the main topic of this channel. And yeah, this is a career strategy job search channel. I think I didn't even mention it, but now that we have a good group, I released 22 private videos on Saturday. Just they were old videos. 14 of them are about my entrepreneurial journey. So I would like get on camera once a week, and then I did things that were more like job productivity. And then I thought, oh, this is too early. Like I'm jumping around quite a bit. But at this stage, I am really happy to chat about anything. I think this is my 567th video. So there's just a ton of content, right? And obviously I can do a million Q&A videos, but obviously we want to spread the love and make sure that I'm staying engaged with this audience after 6.5 years. Coming up with new content can sometimes be challenging. I mean, the job market, the world's always changing. But yeah, I'm happy to kind of flex. I mean, I just don't think that there's that much complexity, Patrick, to the onboarding. Like, you just got to be a great team member, a great listener, and just outwork everybody. I mean, it's a really, really simple process. And then learn communication skills always. You may need to learn how to manage your manager. There's a lot of other little nuanced things. So now that I'm saying that, maybe it is more content. We're at the 30s, so I'm just going to take 30 seconds to prompt on my services. If you use the coupon code GHOST, 25% off of our interview mastery course. That's just today. I updated the entire course to include AI modules back in October. So we've had a real nice revamp. If you haven't checked out our AI practice interview tool, 7-day free trial, and we're getting people to opt into the beta of our App Academy, which is going to take people through modules and create more of a learning experience within the app. We're super excited. Spent a lot of money getting this up and running. That should be out in a couple weeks. If you haven't been to it, go to practiceinterviews.com. I'm still doing one-on-one interview coaching, one-on-one negotiation coaching, one-on-one strategy sessions. There's free resources on there. You can join our Slack community. I probably have over 100 blog posts, so just tons of information there. If you like what I'm doing today, smash that like button. If you've never subscribed, I go live 9 a.m. Pacific time every Tuesday and new original content every Monday. All right, no time to waste. Let's get right back to it. I'm reaching out to inquire about job market trends, particularly in India. The tech industry always seems to be evolving, and I'm keen to stay informed. Any insights you can share? Well, Neil, all right, let's see what your second question is, see if there's more. Okay, no, that's a conversation. Okay, so what we're seeing specifically in the trends is that there's just less hiring. Like overall, there are less jobs, and that trend is not going to go away. That's like a trend that's going to happen in perpetuity, because with automation, with AI, like we're just going to see less and less jobs over time. So it's just something to note and be aware of. It's not a gloom and doom. It's just the reality, right? So we have seen, it's kind of been interesting because I feel like the market in India is constantly improving, where the market in the US is not as strong right now. And definitely the market and industry trends across Europe have been really, really lean for like now almost 3 years. And so you're in a good market, but just always double down and focus in on, and always what I want anybody watching this live session to think about is, can I be replaced? Can I be automated? And just have a real conversation with yourself, because I do that all the time. And that's why I built an AI tool, because I'm like, maybe I get replaced. And so we always have to ask that really tough question. I know it's not a fun question, but it's a question I just want people to ask. And even with more physical labor jobs, like jobs that require some sort of lifting or anything like that, like robotics will take some of those jobs over soon, and then probably a lot of those jobs in the next 5 to 10 years. Which role are you aiming for? What feedback do you receive, and what's your level? Okay. Hey, Neil, data scientist L3, he said, since I have not found a team, he can't do anything. Yeah, okay. So the data scientist role is still a really viable role, in my opinion. Just the cross section of tech and communication and thought process, like it's still a good role. So it's just keep going with that position. I see some viability for that position for the future. So yeah, it's still a good role. How was your feedback? Said it was strong hire mostly. And I just want to confirm that, like, in this conversation, of course, I love the conversations that happen. This is a community driven live session, so I want people to chat with each other. I rarely see that it's like strong hires across the board, and you don't need that to get hired. You can have a mix on feedback. It's just the overall assessment of how you did collectively. After working as a recruiter at organizations like Expedia, Amazon, Airbnb, and Salesforce, wow, I recommend potential candidates to put equal effort while offer negotiation as they do while interviewing. Yes. So here's the big thing. It's like we have to get the job, right? So we do really, really prioritize our interview skills. And when you're in the interview process, spending a lot of time learning about negotiation is taking away from the item you can control that's in front of you, which is the job interviews. I just hear constantly and endlessly from people checking in about my negotiation services and saying they're going to book and not booking. Look, you don't have to use my negotiation services, but you should take negotiation extremely seriously. There are few times in our life where we can make significant more money with a very short amount of time. You may need to speak to a recruiter 2 or 3 times. You may literally spend 20 minutes to get 20 grand more a year, 50 grand more a year, or more. So understanding these strategies is important. There are a lot of nuances when it comes to negotiation. I, of course, strongly recommend hiring a professional because whatever that payment is, you're likely, like most of my clients get a 50, 100, 200x over 4 years because a lot of the offers are 4-year deals easily by using that service. But there's a lot of loss aversion. I see, and again, it's just not me, but a lot of loss aversion when it comes to, oh, I don't want to pay that amount for that negotiation strategy. It's not it's an investment. It's an investment to make sure you get more money over time. So take negotiation seriously. That was a bit of a tangent, but yes, it's very, very important. Candidates getting lazy post getting the offer confirmation. Money is up there for grabs. Make your recruiters your cheerleaders to get the best deal. Let's do a simple analogy that I love. Think about all your closest friends right now. Who are the ones you like the most? You like the friends the most that are the nicest, the kindest, the sweetest, whatever we want to say. And that's just human psychology. So why not be incredibly gracious and kind to your recruiter? That way we really remove any chance of an offer being rescinded when we're really gracious, really kind. But it also allows us to push a little bit. So find that nice balance. It will really help. Okay, feeling sad for you. I'm also in team match for 2 weeks for an L3 SWE. I hope for the best on the L3 SWE. I think we're going to see fewer hires on L3 SWE moving forward. So I'm hoping that you can find something quickly, and stay in touch with your recruiter on that one as much as you can. Hi, Jeff. I passed 2 Google interviews, but the team felt I wasn't the right fit. Still waiting on RRL and GGC, but no updates. I reached out to the recruiter on Friday with no response. Any advice? I'm not sure. I think you mean RRK, which is role-related knowledge, and GCA, which is the general cognitive ability. I think that's probably what you meant. So you passed 2 Google interviews, but the team felt you weren't the right fit. Kind of interested, like just this team. So you did really good in the interviews, but this specific team wasn't interested, or I'm a little confused by this. Maybe we can follow up, but reaching out on Friday and not hearing back yet is pretty common. I would recommend that you touch base this week, but maybe wait till tomorrow or Thursday. Let me know if you have more data. I think it's probably best to submit resumes in PDF form. Keeps the best consistency. Just like send it to yourself in a PDF form, because what happens is sometimes like the alignment gets a little funky in a PDF, and we don't want the dates. If we've justified the dates and they're like dropping down to the next level. So I do recommend PDF. And what I would do is just email it to yourself first. Make sure that when you open the PDF in that email, it looks the way you want it to look. That's my recommendation. I don't think it's a hard, fast rule, though. I don't think it matters that much. India as a market is an investor's paradise at the moment. It's the most stable market globally. The problem is of high competition. Use networking as much as possible to make yourself, to differentiate yourself. Yeah. So every market's competitive. There's less jobs and more people looking for jobs, and specifically jobs where you got to hop behind a computer. There's just less of it, right? So yeah, it's really important to acknowledge like where we are economically, and like the economics show that like, hey, even with positive trends in a market like India, it's still going to be hyper competitive. With networking, let's just talk about it for a second. Just continue to use that give first model. Let's just talk about one strategy. Let's not talk about direct reach outs. Let's talk about LinkedIn recommendations. Nobody is using this tip. It's gold. Start writing LinkedIn recommendations for people who you've worked with in the past, who you liked and are probably or maybe or definitely working at a company that you want to work at. Just do it unsolicited, and use GPT or Claude or Gemini or Llama or whatever your preferred LLM is, and say, here are the 3 things I love about Sue. Write a 4-sentence LinkedIn recommendation for Sue. Boom, upload it. Do 10 of those, 15 of those, 20 of those. If you're as deep into your career as I am, I could write 50 of those today, right? So we're always writing recommendations to stay top of mind for the people we care about and may be able to help us get jobs. That's just one of many networking tips, but I just don't see other people making that recommendation. And I think LinkedIn recommendations are a great way to reconnect with people and potentially open doors. Sorry, I just had to laugh when you said we should ask, can I be replaced? Yeah. What are your thoughts about Upwork as a freelance option? So I ask myself this question constantly. And I would just kind of highlight and note that it's the question that not enough people are asking themselves. And it's a question that I ask people all the time. It makes them uncomfortable, and they find reasons to justify why they can't be replaced. Flip the coin. Figure out, in an automated world, what would it take to automate your job? And you'll find that it's a pretty scary answer. And so again, this is not gloom and doom. It's not meant to scare people. It's meant to get us into this mental reality of thinking, how do we insulate ourselves from AI or automation? So it's a question I'm constantly asking myself, and not only for today's state, but I plan on doing this business only for probably a couple more years, depending on how things work out. And then I want to move on and do another business. I already have an idea in mind, and that future business is very insulated from AI, but I've been thinking through it and trying to process through it for a while. So we constantly need to think about it. Upwork as a freelance option. I've hired tons of people off of Upwork, and the reality is that it is a great platform, and you definitely can use it. Just price appropriately, right? And here's the other thing. I want to teach you a sneaky Upwork trick. If you're on Upwork, make sure you have an optimized LinkedIn profile. Like when you build your profile in Upwork, make sure that there's enough specific details that somebody could go find you on LinkedIn and hire you around Upwork, right? Because if your fee is whatever amount on Upwork, they're going to take a percentage. We just want to say, hey, you came to me on LinkedIn, I can offer you a little less, but it's still more than what you would end up having to give Upwork. So, but yes, it's a good platform, and I recommend it. There's so many good platforms out there, but Upwork's a good one, well established, good credibility. Drop your LinkedIn profiles in the chat. Also open to roles beyond Google at the moment. Yeah, and again, if you want to drop your profiles in the chat, that's great. Totally up to you. And of course, you can bring any of these conversations to over to the Slack channel. So if you go to practiceinterviews.com, scroll to the bottom, you can join our Slack community. It's free. We have 4,200 members in our Slack community. We're trying to like get some momentum back. It was incredibly active during COVID, and now it's just not as active as it was before. But yeah, absolutely. Of course, anybody who feels comfortable dropping anything in here, please do. Hey, Jeff, I interviewed with Google 4 years ago and got no offer. I'm about to have an upcoming interview this week. Is there anything change on how they assess candidates in the past 4 years? Thank you so much. No, it looks the same. Yeah. So your ability to, the number one key in all interviews, and I just don't think that people are necessarily attaching to this idea or concept enough, is how. So on the hypothetical side, can you show me how you do it in the role? So I start to picture you in the role. On the behavioral side, can you tell me how you did it? Because if I can think about how you've done it in the past, I'm picturing you in the role. How is everything? I mean, obviously, really understanding methods, STAR method for behavioral questions, CFAS for hypothetical questions, and just understanding the landscape and how they work. But they're still really looking at candidates in the same way. To getting a job offer, the two key things to spend money on should be offer negotiation plus lawyer review of the contract. Okay, Edward, always love to have you here because you always have great insights. Spending money on negotiation is like, it's a fantastic ROI. And of course, I could tell this whole community, everybody who's watching now, so many people have come to me and they've said like, hey, Jeff, I want your negotiation services. And then I share the offer and they're like, wow, you're expensive. And I said, well, like, you don't see the value in it. It's a lot of money. It's a very little amount of money to get a lot of money. If we could always give a little and get a lot, we'd do it 100% of the time. But it's just, again, loss aversion is a very, very deep-rooted science, cognitive psychology item. We don't like giving up money for future money. It's a hard thing for many people to do. Now, the second item, I disagree with Edward. The second item would be, I would run it through GPT or Claude or Gemini or Llama or all four, but I don't think we need lawyers anymore, not for contracts. There is no way that a lawyer is going to be able to be as efficient and not miss anything with a contract as an LLM, just in my opinion. I used to have two lawyers. I used to have a patent and copyright lawyer, and I just had a general corporate lawyer. And I just found that AI does that job for me and does it for free. So again, obviously if you really want that second set of eyes, but I just think when it comes to contract information, AI is better than a human at this point. Hey, Jeff, in your opinion, are logistics and supply chain decent industries to work in the age of AI? Probably from the sense that like relationships and communication, like I think that a lot of it can be automated through AI, but then it's like going out and talking to vendors, going out and talking to internal stakeholders, external stakeholders. Like there's just a lot of moving pieces. The lots of moving pieces, I feel like organizations aren't willing to fully automate that yet. So I think it's okay. I think you can start to envision systems communicating and talking to each other, but companies and vendors and suppliers need to be using the same systems to talk to each other, and they're not currently doing that, right? And so I think it's insulated for now. I mean, I always thought that like logistics and supply chain roles were fun. I've recruited for them for years, and I think they're fun. I think they're interesting roles, but I think communication now, the lack of all systems talking to each other, but once those systems can connect and talk to each other, it's going to be a more challenging role in the future. Great question. Hey, Jeff, this happened like 2 months back. I cleared all interviews at Google, including Googliness, yet I was sidelined saying I was marginally passing their criteria. Okay. Okay, so you cleared all the interviews, including googliness, yet sidelined saying you marginally passed their criteria. Yeah, and so unfortunately, a big part of it is you can pass all the interviews, but the competition is fierce, right? And so you can do well, but one person or more than one person just did a little better. And that's all it is. And so sometimes people who are great candidates will get sidelined because there's just somebody who they think performed a little bit better, was a better fit. Obviously, it's super, super competitive. You are competing against thousands just to get in the door. And then you're competing against a bunch of other people just to get into the interviews. And then in the interviews, you're competing against the elite talent of the world. So I just don't want you to be too hard on yourself. And just know that when they give that feedback, it just means that, maybe there was one or multiple people who just showed up a little bit better. Hey, completed my interview loop for Google L4. I reached out to the recruiter with no response for hiring committee feedback. Any advice? Yeah, I would want to know, tell me a little bit more about the timeline. Did they tell you that you passed all the interviews and you're going to hiring committee? Is that feedback they gave you, or you conducted all the interviews and you just haven't heard back yet? Should I write a recommendation on LinkedIn for people who provided referrals, even though I didn't work with them? No. LinkedIn recommendations should be for people we know. I mean, I lean into people I know, I worked with, I liked. It's hard for me because I've been working for myself for over 6 years. So I can give referrals for like contractors or other people, but I'm running out of people who I've worked with in a corporate environment. But no, it should really lead into people you've actually worked with. Yeah. Hey, Jeff, the Google role I applied for needs only 3 years of work. However, I have 16. Could I be considered overqualified? Meeting with the recruiter tomorrow. It's an L4 role. All right, let's kick this question back to how many years of experience do you have for that specific position would be my follow-up question. Okay, moved to the UK 8 months back, and I have 6 years of experience in the digital industry. Hard to find a job, so many rejections, hard to keep it up. Any tips to find job opportunities? Yeah, it's the UK is, I don't know. I've just found the UK to be a brutal job market. And it's very self-focused, meaning I used to get clients in London all the time. And I just they disappeared. And so all I'll say is I want anybody who's watching right now and anybody who watches this on the replay, what if you couldn't apply? What if applying to jobs was not actually an option? What would you do? It forces us to be way, way more creative. So when networking, what I like to do is I like to use a give first model. So I reach out to people who I think could be hiring or be interesting. And I'd say, hey, Sue, came across your profile. I found this cool article on how AI meets the intersection of program management and automation. Just wanted to send it to you. Have a great day. That's in a connection request note. To be able to send a note with connection requests, you have to do a small upgrade on your LinkedIn profile. It's about $30 a month USD. It's worth it. And I would just do tons of those types of reach outs. Obviously, LinkedIn recommendations are going to be great as well. But just give. The give first model is going to be ideal. It's a long play, but just reaching out in general, so many people ask for things, and that's what everybody else is doing. So it causes people to shut down and not really want to help, right? Hey, Jeff, quick question. Hey, Liz, happy to have you here. Quick question about levels. Once you've reached a level, say L5, moving roles and business units, would you ever be considered for one level lower, say 4 in this hypothetical? Absolutely. I'm an L5 program manager and I want to move over to product management, right? So I want to move over to product management. Yeah, I might drop a level. Definitely possible. Yeah. So just something to be thinking about and considering. Now, if I'm an L5 program manager dropping to an L5, or sorry, I'm an L5 program manager dropping to an L4 product manager, that comp's going to be really good. Product managers get comped really good. So it's worth considering. But if you move ladders, yes, you can level down. Definitely potential for that. Totally agree with having the necessity of offer negotiation service. It's a great investment and also makes people feel much better about their new role. Thanks for that, Patrick. I appreciate it. Hey, Jeff, must STAR and CFAS responses be relevant to the role being applied for, or is it okay to use examples from other roles? Daphne, great question. The STAR method, when answering behavioral questions, I'm going to lean into my best examples. Role relevancy is less important than making sure your behavioral example ties back to the question. Now, CFAS, it's totally different. 100% of the time when I'm answering hypothetical questions, I'm answering like I'm in the role. There's no ambiguity on that. I'm always going to answer like I'm in the role. Why? It makes it easier. Then I can plan my clarifying questions around that. My framework approach will be more role specific. My assumptions will be very role specific, and I'll solve like I'm in the role. I guess Upwork Plus membership is worth it, and buying connects to bid on positions or build my profile to sell my skills and experience. Try it. See how it works, right? You only know if you try. But again, like right now on Upwork, the person who I work with on my email marketing, she's on Upwork, and so she's been fantastic. And throughout time, I have hired people off of Upwork, Fiverr, and they're good platforms. Reemployment lawyer, definitely do your own prep, analyze with AI, do your own study. That said, having a certified professional review the contract can be valuable later on. It's a dated record of the analysis that will catch certain regional or situational details that an LLM would miss. It's also legally accepted reference point for any future litigation or settlement. Yeah, and again, yeah, okay. I mean, maybe, right? Again, but I just think it's really, really important that to know that we can give LLMs that criteria. We can say, okay, now I want you to bring in the cultural nuances of this. I want you to think about the legality of this contract in California versus Massachusetts versus the UK versus India or whatever it might be. So, yeah, I don't trust humans for contract review anymore. That's just me. But I agree with you. You have it all documented and all that good stuff. How much that'll stand up over time, I don't know. But yeah, always love your lens. Okay. It is 16. Okay, I don't know what that means. Any advice on securing opportunities globally so as to get global exposure? Yeah, I do have a recommendation. You may not love it though. My recommendation is always to get the job in your local community or like your local country, and then ideally transfer to other countries. That's just the easiest path and always my recommended path. Easier said than done, 100% understand, but that's my recommendation. Tips for TAM, Cloud, RRK1, RRK2 on the same day. Second RRK is a case study, 15-minute prep time. Yeah, your RRK1 for TAM, behavioral, hypothetical, and technical questions. The hypothetical will put you in scenarios, challenging client, right? Pretty common. Tough stakeholder. That's going to be pretty common. Behavioral will be kind of focused in on how you've helped clients, how you've worked on strategy and process in the past, and then like a technical question could be like, how does Google, what is the question I'm thinking through? Oh, how does Netflix work in the cloud? Like a really basic kind of technical question. The second ROK, yeah, they're going to give you a case study and you're going to have 15 minutes to prep. Really a good methodology on that case study is to ask some clarifying questions, present your framework, make some assumptions, and solve. So CFAS works pretty well. And good luck. I want to encourage you to network. Just Read GCP is expanding hugely in the UK. My advice would be to join meetups around AI and GCP. I loved living in London, but it takes time to network. Yeah. Networking is not, I think that's why people don't do it. It's not a short game. Networking is a long game. We always have to be networking, always. Constantly be chatting with people, constantly be talking to people. That's the only way we're going to have success. Oh, thank you, Kurt. I was like, what the heck is going on? 16? Okay. So 16 years for this specific role, I applied to all my experiences in various research and insights positions. Yeah, what I would be speaking to if they're like, whoa, you're like really overqualified, say, but for this role, I've spent a few years in this niche and that's why I think it's a good fit, but overqualification might come up. It's just a reality. I don't want to skate around it. Okay. Hi, Jeff. How should I approach reaching out to a former university colleagues who I never spoke with in person, but I'm already connected with on LinkedIn to ask about information at their current company? I would asking for information about their current company it's you focused. It's just it's tough feedback, and it's feedback that I want to share. Former people who you went to school with, I would say, hey, Bob, I noticed that you're working at X company, and I just came across this cool article that I think would be really interesting or relevant for you. I don't know if you remember me. We went to school together. We didn't really know each other. Check it out. So you're not asking for information or asking them to open doors. It happens too much. So I would recommend giving first. Just wrote to candidate support again and got a response. Okay, they'll update tomorrow. Awesome. That email, and again, let's just go there. If you are not hearing back from your Google recruiter, this is usually like a 3-week plus. Like you don't want to hit this email too soon, but if you're not hearing back, use this. We have to hold recruiters accountable. This is just getting insane. It's just, I don't know why nobody's being held accountable. Also, I wanted to ask, did you hear anything about Amazon laying off 14K employees? What are your thoughts? No, I didn't hear about it, but I always feel like I'm the last to hear. I'm not really, well, I look at layoff data quite a bit, but if that's a new announcement today, I mean, yeah, this is the future state of things, right? But I'll definitely jump into the news after this and take a peek. Yeah, and by the way, yes. Future state, these companies are not going to have more employees, they're going to have less. Okay, so it's just something we want to think about. Google, Amazon, Meta, Apple, they probably all hit their peak in terms of number of employees. That's just my 2 cents, my opinion, but that's what I think. Hey, Jeff, what are you seeing lately on offers going out from Google in terms of the base against posted ranges and total comp? I'm hearing over and over again to temper expectations given the economy. That's not true. I don't know where this is coming from, where this data is coming from, but like the Google offers that I'm negotiating for my clients now are as good as they've ever been, period. They are not paying worse than they used to pay in the past. Google puts specific emphasis on internal equity. What are you making compared to others in the role? And so dropping comp significantly compared to your peers isn't a philosophy that makes sense for them. They've backed off of a lot of really important things, but paying well has not been one of them. And so over and over again, you're hearing to temper expectations from people who are not doing offer negotiations with Google, because I have just tons and tons and tons of case studies ever since they did their layoffs, had the freeze and did their layoffs, that these compensation packages just keep going up. So, yeah, I just, I don't really, I think that this is just a lot of fake news. Yeah, and Google Cloud Sales is anything in the Google Cloud Sales space is great. This week, I read that Deepmind is pushing Eng to log 60 hours a week. Do you see new offers at 1.5x higher? No, I don't. I mean, that's being driven by Sergey, and like, look, Larry and Sergey aren't my favorite people right now. Very few people will watch this video. It's okay if I critique them. It's just they've backed away from who they are and what the core focus of the business, from the way they've laid people off, from their diversity efforts, specifically DEI, like they're not doing what's right. And all the blame is that people are lazy, employees are lazy, and like whatever. I just not super happy with it. But no, they're not going to pay you more. And by the way, like in my opinion, if you're going to go work for big tech, it's not a 40-hour-a-week job. Some people can get it done in 40 hours, but that's just not the expectation of working at an elite company. Expect to work 50 or 60 hours a week at these elite companies. I may sound like a dunce, but I have no idea how to use Meetup, and I don't know if I'm using it right. Okay, so the great news about the world we live in, right, is like just use all the tools we have to do the research. I think sometimes we're not doing enough research. So go to YouTube. How do I use Meetup? Or how do I most effectively use Meetup? How do I get the most out of Meetup? And it will tell you, use GPT, use Claude, use Gemini, ask those questions, really work with the tools we have. And I think you'll find you'll get great answers. Remote jobs at G are almost non-existent now. Any possibility this reverses when the job market picks back up? I don't know. I don't want to answer that question. I don't know. Real estate's expensive. I would think that they'd want to back off of real estate at some point. The job market isn't going to pick back up. I really strongly believe, without going down a negative path, the future state of jobs is less jobs. And then after that, it's going to be less jobs. And after that, it's going to be less jobs. There's just too much automation. It's too easy to automate jobs now to see an uptick in the job market moving forward, in my opinion. Hey, Jeff, interviewed for GCP TAM role at India. I've completed all 4 rounds last Friday. Okay. Let's see if there's a follow-up. I hope you're doing well. So, okay. When can I reach out to the recruiter for an update? I'll reach out maybe Thursday if you haven't heard back. Yeah. Usually 5 business days is a good turnaround time. And good luck. If you have third-party recruiters' work email, then you could use Google Chat to reach out to them. You can. Yeah, I mean, they may not like it. They may not respond, but you can always do it. Again, I think it would depend on your relationship. Have you spoken with them before? I don't think I'd want somebody chatting with me that I didn't know, but if you've worked with them multiple times in the past, then you can try it and see if it works. Always worth trying, right? Wow. Really great session today. I am more than happy to hang out for longer and take any additional questions that come in. I do want to take maybe a couple of minutes to talk about our subject area. So let's talk about our subject area. And then if more questions come in, I'll answer them. So what I'm finding is going on with recruiting right now is that there's definitely a lack of organization happening at the recruiting level. Like they don't know how to manage their inbox. They don't know how to manage their applicant tracking system, and they don't know how to manage their calendar. If they could do just those 3 things, everybody would hear back in a timely manner. Okay, so it's just really, really important that we start to manage our recruiters. And you can do that from the beginning. How soon can I expect to hear back after the interviews? If I haven't heard back, are you okay with me touching base? Like, what's the method you're going to prefer to contact me? Is it going to be email, phone, text? Like, we just need to be asking the recruiter way more questions and just owning the relationship with them. And we can do that in a very gracious and kind way, but just more responsibility on us. Let's stop feeling like they're not doing their jobs. Let's expect that they won't do their job. And then let's control that situation on the front end, in the middle, and in the end as much as we can. But I want to stop giving control to them, because giving control to them is obviously a losing scenario in today's world. And that is not just external recruiters. That's internal recruiters. That's Google recruiters. We've seen it time and time and time again. And now all of a sudden, there's just no accountability. And so now we have these recruiters at these elite companies with no accountability. It's an absolute mess. So you are welcome. Okay, let's go on our wrap up. If any additional questions come in, I am more than happy to answer them. Thank you so much for being here. If you use the code GHOST, you're going to get 25% off of our interview mastery course today. I updated all the modules in October to have AI modules. Our AI practice interview tool, free trial. It's a 7-day free trial. We are going to be switching to a freemium model, but if you log in now, you can get into the beta of our App Academy, which will be launching that MVP kind of beta in about 2 weeks. And you can really see how we're not only going to have you have the best feedback in the world on our system, but also to build you through the process to help you understand how to answer questions better. I do one-on-one practice interviews, one-on-one negotiation, and one-on-one strategy sessions, mostly resume and LinkedIn. And you can find all those services at practiceinterviews.com. I go live 9 a.m. Pacific every single Tuesday, new original long form content every Monday, and I'm trying to do more shorts. If you like what I did today, smash that like button. If you've never subscribed, consider subscribing. I'm going to answer these last few questions and hop off. Thanks, Stephanie, for being here. Thank you, David. For Google, should we have the same expectations for timing and follow-up between recruiters and staffing specialists? Yeah, same sort of follow-up for everybody. Like, you're hoping from that first communication or interview or whatever to hear back in 5 business days. And if you haven't, follow up. Absolutely. Leveling question, Jeff. Is the HC down levels, does the candidate have any levers to counter? Absolutely. If you're going in for an L5 and they want to bring you down to an L4, you just say, hey, to your recruiter, if I were to do 1 or 2 additional interviews, is there a chance for up level? We can always ask. Most of the time it's no, but occasionally it's yes. So always ask. Thanks. To the best. Thank you, everybody, so much for being here. Really great, engaging conversation today. Hope everybody has a fantastic day, and I'll be back next week. Thanks so much.